Hey, we know you're busy, and you've probably told yourself a dozen times that you need to have a will in place, but you keep putting it off. If you have a spouse or children, anyone who depends on you, it's not an option, it's a must. And if you have a child heading off to college, it's even more important. Here to tell us why is attorney Daniel McKinsey of the McKinsey Law Firm. Welcome to the show. Dan, you love working with families. You know we're all busy. You understand, you can relate to maybe not having a will or trust because we put it off, right?
Absolutely, yes. I have 4 kids of my own, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very, very busy, so I understand the busyness of the weekends, and you get home at night and you're rushing around and you kind of feel like you're behind all the time, so maybe putting together legal documents isn't always a high priority.
I know, and I have to admit, I don't have a will or trust. I have children, I have a spouse, so I'm going to be learning along with maybe some audience members today. My first question is, what happens if you or your spouse passes away, or you both go, and you don't have a will or trust in place? What happens to the kids and your money in the house?
Well, if you have a spouse who survives you, obviously they can take care of matters, but it's important to have insurance in place and still have a plan to kind of deal with, well, what's going to happen to the responsibilities that you were covering. But if you both pass away, each state has its own rules. They're called the intestacy laws, and they will decide, a probate court will have to open a case if you have small children and take applications from people who might be interested in stepping in and
Really?
raising your kids for you. And in some cases that might not be. Maybe you have, a sister who thinks she can do it, and it wasn't one of the people you would have chosen.
True. And in the meantime, where are your kids? Where is everything? It's kind of in limbo,
It
right?
can be, yeah. And in a real emergency situation, they can actually end up kind of in a situation where the state's kind of watching over them.
Wow.
So you definitely want to have a plan in place for the short term and also the long term.
That's scary to me to find that out. That actually motivates me to get this ball rolling today. And there are a lot of important things that you need to know if your kids are 18, heading off to college. I didn't realize that you had to have a plan in place for them as well.
Yeah, there are really 2 components to that. First of all, when they turn 18, the law is starting to view them as an adult.
Right.
And maybe you don't view your 18-year-old quite as an adult, but in some situations they will be. So you can have a situation where if they're hospitalized, the medical confidentiality laws will prevent the hospital from disclosing information. And some
Wow.
hospitals are really nervous about that.
Yeah.
So we can put documents in place like a power of attorney, a medical record disclosure for your kid going off to college, so that you'll always be able to get information if they end up in a situation where they're in a hospital. And then, of course, if you're paying the college bills, you want to have a plan in place. What happens if something happens to you?
Right.
What's going to happen to their bills? And again, some combination of insurance and document planning is going to be important for that.
Yeah, a lot of kids going off to college just this week into this month.
Yep.
It's a really good idea to get that done.
Yes.
Now, there are many websites out there that kind of tell people they can form that will or trust online really fast. What do you say about those sites?
If you have a situation that is incredibly simple, that can be an option for you. And if it helps you get it done, it maybe. But I talk to a lot of people about that, and they bring that up, and I say, well, those options have been there. Have you done it? And they haven't.
Right.
And 70% of people are still dying without a plan in place. Having a lawyer do it for you will kind of keep you on the ball. Like we said, having someone maybe hold you accountable is very valuable. But then also, people come into my office, and no 2 people want the same thing. Everybody has a little tweak. They don't want their kids to have access to the money outright until they're 30 or 25 or even older.
So you can customize that.
You can really customize that. You can put a lot of options in place, like you want them to graduate from college, or you want them to be fully employed, or if you have a kid who has special needs, that's a really complex situation. So you kind of want a lawyer to look over that, and it's not really that expensive.
Okay. What's the difference between a will and a trust? Do you need both?
You don't. So a will dictates what happens with your property when you pass away. And if you have a will and no trust, it will go through the probate court. But you can, if it's a real simple situation, no one's fighting, that's not a real real intimidating process. But a trust will help you actually circumnavigate the probate court entirely. Everything's done outside the courts, nothing, no chance of, people, well, lower chance of people fighting then. And you can also exercise a lot more control with a trust than a will. A will, you can give someone money. A trust, you can control it for decades, what happens afterwards. So that's the difference.
Okay, and you have a website with a lot of great information. In fact, I logged on this morning, and there's a form that you can fill out to kind of get the process started. How long does this take?
The hardest part is at the very beginning. You'll kind of pull your asset picture together for me and let me know about your family and that kind of stuff. And that, I have a questionnaire on the website that you can do right there. That takes maybe 30 to 45 minutes, and then we'll meet and discuss your situation, and that's probably an hour. And then if it's really, it's just a will, or, there's not too much complications, you've just got small children and you're, nothing special, I can get it done within a couple weeks.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, get your information in, get the ball rolling, because I think once we get into fall and kids in school, things just get even crazier. So Dan and the McKenzie Law Firm have 2 great offers for you, so you can start planning. If you have younger children, Dan is offering a free planning meeting to discuss your needs and options. It could be up to 2 hours with him, and that's a $400 value. That is free. For families with older children, if you hire Dan for your estate planning needs, he will also create medical record releases and powers of attorney for your college student. That is a $200 value, and that's free as well. Call Dan and the McKenzie Law Firm now to take advantage of these offers and schedule your consultation to start preparing for your family. The number is 303-648-4006, or you can learn more online at themckenziefirm.com. Coming up on Colorado